Have you ever had one of those mornings where, the alarm doesn't go off, so you rush out of bed and you immediately stub your toe on the dresser?
Oh, the worst.
It hurts like crazy, and then while you're hopping around on one foot, you knock your coffee over.
Of course. The classic cascade of disaster.
Right, and it just gets worse. You get in the car, you're already late, and you hit every single red light. Every one.
It feels personal.
It does. By the time you get to work, you're not just late. You are completely convinced the universe has personally singled you out for destruction. You feel like a victim.
We've all been there. It really feels like the world is just happening to you.
Exactly. We call that bad luck or just, a terrible day. But what if we completely flip the script on that?
Okay.
What if life isn't this random series of events just bashing into us, but is actually a highly sensitive, highly responsive feedback system that is responding to us?
Now, that is the fundamental shift we're exploring today. It's the difference between being a passenger in a car with no brakes and, well, being the driver.
It moves us from victim.
To operator.
We are back with another session on the works of Florence Scovel Shinn, looking at her book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And today, we are tackling a word that carries a lot of baggage.
A lot.
We're talking about the law of karma. And before you roll your eyes or think this is going to get all mystical, I want to give you the metaphor Shinn uses because it hooked me immediately.
It's a great one.
She says, life is not a battle. It is a game of boomerangs.
A game of boomerangs. It's such a precise image, isn't it?
It really is. And today we're going to unpack exactly what that means. We're going to strip away all the superstitions and just look at the mechanics of cause and return.
What goes out must come back.
If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
So let's get into the machinery of this.
Let's start with the word itself. Karma. When I hear that word, I honestly think of a bumper sticker or maybe someone saying, "Karma's going to get you."
Right after a bad breakup or something.
Yeah. It feels a bit punitive or like this, I don't know, this cosmic credit score that I can't see, but I'm constantly being judged by.
That's the common misconception, for sure. In the West, we've really turned karma into this system of punishment and reward, almost like a celestial Santa Claus, naughty or nice. But if we go back to the source, and certainly how Shinn interprets it, it's much more clinical.
Clinical. That's an
Yeah.
interesting word for it.
Yeah. I mean, the word karma comes from Sanskrit, and it doesn't mean punishment. It translates roughly to action or deed,
Action.
and implicitly the comeback.
The comeback.
Think of it in terms of physics rather than, theology. Newton's third law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Okay.
If you push against a wall, the wall pushes back. That isn't the wall judging you. It's not punishing you for being a bad pusher. It's just mechanics.
So Shinn is arguing that this same mechanical principle applies to our thoughts, our words, and our whole psychology.
Precisely. She calls it the law of sowing and reaping. Whatever you plant, that is what grows.
If you plant a tomato seed, you don't get a cucumber.
You get a tomato. The soil doesn't care if you wanted a cucumber. It just returns what you deposited. In modern systems theory, we'd call this a feedback loop.
I like feedback loop. It sounds neutral.
It is neutral. You provide an input, a thought, a criticism, a generous act, and the system provides an output that matches that input.
Okay.
Shinn's whole goal, and really our goal here, is to help you realize that you're not a victim of some random chaotic universe. You are the operator of a system that returns your own inputs to you with, and this is her phrase, astounding accuracy.
Astounding accuracy. That phrase really stuck with me. It implies that, nothing gets lost in the mail.
Nothing gets lost.
But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
No, please.
It's easy to say what goes around comes around, but is this just wishful thinking? I mean, is there any actual basis for this outside of metaphysics? Because sometimes it really feels like jerks get ahead and, nice guys finish last.
That is a fair pushback, a really important one. But if we layer in our support sources, specifically from social psychology and neuroscience, we see that this boomerang effect is actually hardwired into our biology.
Okay, let's dig into the science then. Convince me.
Let's look at the support layer.
Yeah.
First, social psychology and the work of Robert Cialdini. He's kind of the godfather of influence. He famously identified the principle of
I
reciprocity.
think I remember reading about this. This is the idea that we're all wired to pay back debts, right?
It's deeper than just debts. It's a primal reflex. Cialdini cites this classic study with waiters. They found that if a waiter brings the check and includes a single mint, tips go up by a small percentage, maybe 3%. But If the waiter brings a mint, turns to walk away, pauses, turns back and says, "For you nice people, here's an extra mint," and gives them a second one.
What happened?
Tips skyrocket. They go up by something like 23%.
Just for a penny candy. That's insane.
It's not about the candy, it's about the input. The waiter showed generosity and special attention. The customers, almost against their will, felt this biological compulsion to balance the scales. They had to return that generosity.
So the boomerang came back in the form of a 23% tip increase.
Exactly. And this works in reverse, too. If you walk into a meeting with a scowl, if you're short with people, if you're defensive, humans have mirror neurons. We're designed to reflect back what we see. So if you sow hostility, people will instinctively mirror that hostility right back to you.
And you're sitting there thinking, why is everyone so mean to me?
But they're just reflecting your own face.
That is a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
It means if I feel like I'm surrounded by jerks, I might be the one broadcasting the jerk frequency.
You are likely the common denominator, yes.
Okay, that covers the social aspect.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned neuroscience. How does this karma thing work inside my own head?
This is where it gets really fascinating. We have a part of our brain called the basal ganglia.
The basal ganglia.
Think of it as the brain's pattern recognition machine and its autopilot. See, the brain is an energy hog. It uses up about 20% of your body's calories, even though it's a small organ.
Right.
So biologically, its main directive is save energy.
It wants to be lazy.
It wants to be efficient. It wants to automate everything. And this is the habit loop cue routine reward.
Okay.
When you repeat a thought, let's say a resentful thought like, "My boss is an idiot," you are physically firing a chain of neurons.
You're blazing a trail through the forest.
A perfect analogy. And every time you think it, you pack the dirt down harder, you myelinate those pathways, which is like insulating a wire to make the signal travel even faster.
So I am literally building a superhighway for resentment in my own brain.
You are. And the return, or the karma, is that it becomes effortless to be angry. You literally wire your brain to scan for idiocy.
Wow.
You reap a personality that perceives the world as hostile because that's the only road your brain knows how to drive on.
So the punishment isn't that lightning strikes you. The punishment is that you become a bitter person. And you have to live with yourself 24/7.
And that internal state dictates your external reality. If you're wired for bitterness, you'll miss opportunities, you will repel people, you will make poor decisions. The internal boomerang hits just as hard as the external one.
This connects perfectly to something Shin talks about. She warns against a specific type of behavior that I think we're all guilty of. She calls it the old-fashioned chat.
I love this term. It sounds so quaint, doesn't it? Like tea and crumpets.
It does, but she's actually describing something pretty toxic.
Oh, she is. The old-fashioned chat is Shinn's term for those conversations where we just sit around and list our grievances. We talk about how expensive everything is, how corrupt the government is, how sick we feel, how annoying our neighbors are.
It is the Ain't It Awful Club.
It's recreational complaining. And Shin says this is so dangerous because of the law of karma. She says, you're using your words, your wand, to energize the very things you do not want.
You're planting weeds and then wondering why your garden is a total mess.
Exactly. And it goes right back to the basal ganglia. If you spend your lunch hour complaining about your health, you're telling your brain, focus on sickness. Sickness is important to us.
Right. You're ruminating.
Yes. Psychology calls it anger rumination. And it creates a vortex. You keep the stress hormones like cortisol active in your bloodstream. You are physically damaging your body while you talk about how bad your health is.
It's a perfect negative feedback loop.
The perfect loop.
Shin has a story in the book that illustrates this literalness in a way that is, well, it's actually kind of scary. It's the story of the woman and the counterfeit money.
Oh, vividly. I remember that one. It's one of those stories that just stops you in your tracks.
Can you walk us through it? Because it sounds like a joke, but the punchline is brutal.
So Shin describes a woman who, just for fun, cut out pieces of newspaper to the size of banknotes.
Yeah.
And she made a game of it. She would stack these piles of blank paper and say, "I'm rich. Look at all my money."
Just playing make-believe.
She thought she was just playing. But the key is the vibe, the energy. She was doing it in a mocking way. She was playing counterfeit. She was acting out the energy of illusion and fakeness.
And the universe has no sense of humor.
The subconscious mind has no sense of humor. It's a recording device. It just recorded the command. Counterfeit.
So what happened?
Not long after, she was involved in some transaction at a bank, I think, and she was given a large bill. She took it home, and it turned out to be counterfeit.
A literal counterfeit
A
bill.
literal fake. She acted out fake wealth, and the boomerang returned fake wealth.
That feels really harsh. She was just kidding around.
But this is the point Shinn and, a physicist would make. If you drop a glass, gravity doesn't care if you dropped it ironically or playfully.
It just pulls the glass to the floor.
The law is the law.
That's a heavy realization. It means there are no neutral thoughts. We are always broadcasting something.
We're always sowing. Every conversation, every joke, every internal monologue is a seed.
Okay, I want to ground this. We've talked about the theory in the scary counterfeit story, but I want to see how this plays out in the daily grind. We identified 3 main areas where this boomerang effect is most visible: work, relationships, and habits.
The big 3. This is where we all live.
Let's start with work, because I feel like the workplace is the Olympic stadium for the old-fashioned chat.
It absolutely is. It's the culture in so many offices.
So paint the picture for us. We have an employee, let's call him Gary. Gary's unhappy.
Gary is a classic. He sits in his cubicle or, on Slack, and his internal monologue is, "They don't pay me enough for this. My boss, Linda, has no idea what she's doing. This company's going under anyway."
I have been Gary. I think most of us have been Gary at some point.
Sure, and look, Gary might be factually correct. Maybe Linda is incompetent. Maybe the pay is low. But the karma trap is that by focusing on the lack and the injustice, Gary is sowing seeds of resistance.
And what does resistance look like as a seed?
It looks like doing the bare minimum. It looks like withholding his best ideas because, well, they don't deserve them. It looks like a scowl when he walks into a meeting.
And the return on that, the boomerang.
Reciprocity.
Yeah.
Linda feels his resistance. She might not be able to put her finger on why, but she feels he's difficult or not a team player. So when promotion time comes,
He passes him over.
she passes him over.
Which proves Gary right. He gets to say, see, I told you they don't value me.
Exactly. The feedback loop is complete. He created the very reality he was complaining about.
So how does Gary break the loop? I mean, if the job actually sucks, is he just supposed to smile and fake it?
No, not fake it, transmute it. Shinn suggests a radical change in the input. She says, work for the divine design, or in modern terms, work for your own standard of excellence.
So you stop working for the paycheck and start working for the craft.
You adopt the mindset of giving wonderful service for wonderful pay, even if the wonderful pay hasn't shown up yet. You sow excellence, you sow helpfulness, you sow solutions.
That feels risky, though. What if they just take advantage of you?
That's the fear. That's always the fear. But the law says the return must come. When you switch your frequency from resistance to excellence, you change your whole energetic signature. You become too big for that small box.
So what happens?
Shinn says one of 2 things will happen, and usually very quickly. Either the people around you will suddenly shift, they'll recognize your value, and the money will come. Or you will vibrate out of that job entirely. A new offer will come from nowhere, or you'll get fired, which turns out to be a blessing, and you move to a place that matches your new level of excellence.
You outgrow the pot, so the gardener has to move you.
Exactly, but you can't get moved to the bigger pot while you're wilting and complaining in the small one.
That's really powerful. Okay, example 2, relationships. This is the one that keeps people up at night. Betrayal, arguments, the silent treatment.
The boomerang moves very, very fast in relationships because the emotional wires are so short.
Shinn tells a story about an aunt and a niece that is almost too immediate to believe. It's the eating in peace story.
Oh yeah, this is a classic example of words or wands.
Can you set the scene?
Me too. A niece is living with her aunt. The aunt is a bit chatty, maybe a bit of a nag. The niece is just fed up. One day, during lunch, the niece snaps. She says, "No more talk. I wish to eat in peace."
Harsh. She just shuts her down.
She sows a seed of silence and separation. She demands isolation.
And the return. The comeback.
The very next day, not a year later, not a week later, the next day, the niece is having lunch with a friend, someone she actually likes, someone she wants to talk to. And out of nowhere, the friend says to the niece, "No more talk. I wish to eat in peace."
The exact same words.
Verbatim, the boomerang came back and hit her right in the mouth.
That is spooky. But it illustrates that you can't silence others without eventually being silenced yourself.
Correct. You can't judge without being judged.
So what's the fix here? Because relationships are messy. We get hurt. We get annoyed. Is the advice just never get angry?
No, that's just repression. The shift is moving from scorekeeping to repair.
And scorekeeping is the default, isn't it? You hurt me, so now I'm going to withdraw and make you pay.
That is the trap. Scorekeeping is planting more weeds. You were mean, so I'll be cold. Now we have meanness and coldness in the garden. It's getting ugly.
So what is repair?
We can look to John Gottman, the famous relationship researcher. He studied thousands of couples. He found that the masters of relationships, the ones who stay together happily, they fight just as much as the disasters.
They fight just as much. Really?
They do. But the difference is repair attempts.
What's a repair attempt?
It's any statement or action that prevents negativity from escalating. It's stopping the boomerang mid-flight.
Okay, give me an example.
You're in a heated argument, you're both yelling. A repair attempt is one person pausing and saying, hey, I'm sorry I raised my voice, I'm just really stressed about work. Or even just making a silly face. Or saying, can we take a 5-minute break and get a coffee?
It's breaking the loop.
It is weeding the garden immediately. Gottman found that successful couples repair early and often. They don't let that seed of resentment take root. They dig it up 5 seconds after it's planted.
Repair early and often. I like that. Okay, example 3, habits. The internal game.
The game of solitaire, as Shinn calls it.
This is the loop I think I struggle with the most.
Yeah.
The self-hate loop.
Describe it.
Okay, it goes like this. I decide I'm going to change. No more sugar. Or I'm going to write every day. I do great for 3 days. Then I slip, I eat the donut, I skip the writing, and then the avalanche.
The shame avalanche.
I'm weak. I always fail. I'm such a mess. And because I feel like a mess, I just eat 3 more donuts.
Right. And we think that shame is helpful. We think, if I beat myself up enough, I'll do better next time.
It feels like accountability.
But it isn't. It's actually reinforcement. Shinn and modern neuroscience would tell you that shame is a massive negative input. When you scream at yourself, I am a failure, your basal ganglia just says, understood? We are a failure. Let's adjust our behavior to match that identity.
So beating myself up is actually planting seeds for more failure.
You are cementing the very identity you're trying to escape.
So how do we break that loop?
We need to borrow a concept from Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived the concentration camps. He talked about the space.
The space between stimulus and response.
Exactly. He said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom.
Okay, so apply that to my donut situation.
His stimulus is, you ate the donut. That's a fact. It's history. Now, you are in the space. You have a choice. Do you choose the old response, I'm a pig, the day is ruined?
Wow.
Or do you choose a clean restart?
What's a clean restart?
It's ownership without the shame. You
Yeah.
say, okay, I ate that. That wasn't the plan. It was a mistake. And then, and this is the key, you immediately plant a new correct seed
Immediately, not tomorrow.
in the very next second. You don't say, I'll start again Monday. You say, the next bite I take is going to be healthy. Or, I will drink a glass of water right now.
You interrupt the pattern before it can spiral.
You refuse to let the failure seed germinate. You plant a success seed right on top of it.
That requires being very awake, very conscious.
It does. But that's what it means to be an operator of the system.
I want to pause here for a second, because whenever we talk about karma, there's this sinking feeling some people get. They look at their past of maybe they have 10 years of bad habits or they burned a lot of bridges, and they think, well, it's too late for me. I've sowed a forest of weeds. I'm doomed to just sit here and let the boomerangs hit me.
The fatalism trap. This is just who I am.
Yeah.
Or, I've made my bed, now I must lie in it.
So is karma a life sentence?
No, absolutely not. And this is probably the most critical part of Shinn's whole philosophy. Karma is not fatalism.
How so?
Karma is simply a diagnosis of your past inputs. It's just data.
Yeah.
If you look at the scoreboard and you're losing, it doesn't mean you're a loser in your soul. It just means the strategy you used in the first half of the game produced the score.
And the second half hasn't been played yet.
The next minute hasn't been played yet? You can plant new seeds right now, this second.
Shinn talks about the clean correction. What's that?
It's this idea that we don't necessarily have to wait for the old harvest to finish before we start planting the new crop. The moment you change the input, you change the trajectory.
Can you explain that? Because people
Yeah.
really feel like they have to pay off the debt first.
Okay, think of it like steering a large ship. If you've been steering toward the rocks for 10 hours, and you suddenly spin the wheel hard toward the open sea, the ship doesn't turn instantly, right? It has momentum. You might still drift closer to the rocks for a little bit.
That's the lag time.
Right. But the force has changed. You are no longer driving toward the crash. You are driving away from it. And eventually the momentum shifts and the ship follows the new direction.
There's a connection here to Stoicism, isn't there? You mentioned Marcus Aurelius.
Yes. He has this beautiful image of the emerald. He writes something like, Whatever anyone does or says, I must be an emerald and keep my color.
I must be an emerald and keep my color.
It means that no matter what return the world throws at you today, maybe an angry boss, a traffic jam, a rude waiter, your job is to stay true to your nature. You don't turn into a rock just because a rock hit you.
You maintain your input.
You maintain your input because your input is the only thing you actually control. The return is the universe's business. The input is your business.
That is incredibly freeing.
Yep.
It takes all the pressure off of fixing the outcome and puts the focus back on just choosing the seat.
That is the essence of playing the game well.
Okay, we promised we'd get practical, so we're going to do a karma reset.
Let's do it.
This is a guided exercise. I want you, the listener, to actually do this with us right now. Don't just listen. Play along.
It's a 7-step process. We're going to break one loop today.
Step 1. Identify one repeating pattern you hate. Just one.
Don't try to fix your whole life. Just pick the pebble in your shoe. Maybe you're constantly running late. Maybe you interrupt people. Maybe you always run out of money 3 days before payday.
I'll pick one for myself so we have a live example.
Uh-huh.
I struggle with interrupting people. I get excited, and I jump in before they're done, and I can see the annoyance in their eyes.
Okay, perfect example. So, step 1 is the pattern is interrupting.
Step 2, name your usual contribution and be brutally honest with yourself.
This is where we strip away the excuses. You're not interrupting because you're passionate. What's really going on?
Oof. Okay. Honestly, it's impatience and a little bit of ego. I want to show I'm smart. I want to get my point out before I forget it.
Good. That is the weed seed. The message is, my voice is more important than yours. That's what you're sowing.
Step 3, choose the opposite clean input for today.
If the weed is impatience and ego, what's the flower?
Listening, presence, patience.
Okay, so the clean input is respectful silence.
Step 4, make one repair move if needed.
Who have you interrupted recently?
My wife. Last night. Definitely.
Okay, the repair is simple. You can text her or just tell her, hey, I realized I cut you off last night. I'm sorry. I really do want to hear what you're saying.
That just neutralizes the static, doesn't it?
It stops the boomerang.
Step 5, speak one aligned statement that matches the new input.
Words are wands. You need to tell your basal ganglia the new program. Say something to yourself like, I am a generous listener. I have plenty of time to hear others.
Yeah, I'm a generous listener. I like that. Step 6, take one small action that proves it.
And the emphasis is on small. Don't vow to be silent for a week. Just today, in your very next conversation, wait 2 full seconds after the other person stops talking before you speak.
Just count to 2 in my head.
Count to 2. Prove to your brain that you can survive the silence.
And finally, step 7, remove one contradiction.
Yeah, this is critical. What do you say that reinforces the old habit?
I usually joke about it. I'll say, oh, I'm just ADHD. My brain moves too fast. I can't help it.
Stop that. That is the old-fashioned chat. You're affirming a disability to excuse a behavior. You have to remove that contradiction. You can no longer claim, I can't help it, while you are actively trying to help it.
Wow. Okay. So, pattern, contribution, clean input, repair, statement, action, and remove contradiction.
If you walk through those 7 steps, you have physically and energetically shifted the trajectory of that boomerang.
It feels like work, though.
It is work. That's why it's called the game of life, not the nap of life. You have to play it actively.
Before we wrap up, I want to troubleshoot because I know people will try this, they'll be good for a day, and then they'll fall off. You've identified 5 common mistakes people make with this whole law of karma.
Yes. These are the pitfalls where people get stuck.
Mistake 1, thinking it is punishment.
We've touched on this. If you see karma as punishment, you'll feel shame. If you feel shame, you hide. You have to view it as feedback. It's just a dashboard light in your car. If the oil light comes on, the car isn't punishing you. It's just telling you, add oil.
Mistake 2, delaying the repair.
The longer you wait, the heavier the burden gets. Shinn quotes the Bible. Agree with your adversary quickly. That means neutralize the conflict immediately. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. The further the boomerang flies away from you, the harder it hits when it comes back.
Mistake 3, idle words and gossip.
This is the silent killer. People think venting is healthy. Shinn disagrees. She says there are no neutral words. Her rule is strict. Use words only to heal, bless, or prosper.
Only to heal, bless, or prosper. That would cut about 90% of most people's conversations.
It would, and it would transform their lives. If it isn't healing, blessing, or prospering, it is likely a weed.
Mistake 4, scorekeeping. Waiting for the other person to change first.
I'll be nice when he's nice. That is giving your remote control to someone else. You're letting their input dictate your output.
And Shinn says the game of life is a game of solitaire.
You're playing against yourself. You must change your input to change the dynamic. It starts with you.
And finally, mistake 5. Fatalism. Believing you are your past.
This is the ultimate trap. Believing that because you were a grump for 20 years, you must be a grump tomorrow.
And the fix.
The space. You are free to choose a different response in this second. Your past is a memory. Your power is right now.
That's the big takeaway. Your power is in the now.
Always.
This has been a massive unpack. Let's try to recap what we've covered.
Let's boil it down.
First, karma is simply the law of cause and return. It's a feedback loop, not a judgment.
What goes out comes back. Simple mechanics.
Second, what you send out in thought, word, and deed returns to you with accuracy.
The universe doesn't lose the address.
Third, the trap is reacting to negativity with more negativity, which just keeps the cycle going.
It's just feeding the beast.
Fourth, to change the output, you have to fundamentally change the input.
You can't get a different result by doing the same thing.
Fifth, clean correction means taking ownership of your inputs without spiraling into shame.
Ownership without shame. That's huge.
Sixth, specific actions like repair attempts and changing your speech can interrupt those old patterns.
You have to take new action.
And finally, you are not bound by the past. You can plant a new seed in this very moment.
That's the whole game right there.
Now, I have one final question. We talked about clean correction, but what happens if you've created a really, really big mess? Like we're talking years of bad seeds, big mistakes, major bridges burned. Is there a way to erase the bad seeds before the harvest hits you? Or are you just stuck paying off that debt forever?
That is the big question. And according to Shinn, yes, there is a way to transcend karma. She calls it the law of forgiveness.
The law of forgiveness.
It's the tool that erases the bad seeds. It's the erasure that can supersede the law of karma. And that is exactly what we're going to cover in our next session.
I cannot wait for that one. Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.